Welcome on into the Wolverine basketball show here on the Wolverine.com and our YouTube channel. Make sure to give us a like if you're watching there. Subscribe to the channel. I'm your host, Clayton Sayfie, and we're going to be doing this after every game, if everything goes according to plan. This season, 2025-2026 season, Michigan enters as number 7 team in the country. We are coming to you live from Ann Arbor following 100-98 exhibition loss to Cincinnati at Chrysler Center. Really good crowd over there. So basically, these are going to get better and better and more structured as we go along. And part of the reason why this one's going to be a little bit more bouncing around is because, one, it was on streaming only, and a lot of people didn't see the game. And two, it's exhibition action. It was hard to watch at times. There were a million fouls. It's hard to kind of gather your thoughts after a game like this. But we want to break it down, give you our takeaways, what happened, why it happened, who played well, who didn't, how did Michigan look, what are our first impressions, all these things coming to you after their first exhibition game. And yes, Cincinnati wins 100-98. It's worth noting Michigan was without 7'3" center Adai Mara or 6'9", 250-pound forward Merez Johnson Jr. Dusty May said after the game that both of them, or at least they're hopeful that they should be back soon. LJ Kaysen, sophomore guard, was limited with an injury. He played, let's see, what do we have here? As we pull it up, and it's tough to bring up, 14 minutes. I think they wanted him to be right around 10 to 15, and he ends up with 14. So from what we heard, he was on a little bit of a pitch count there. Michigan starters in this game were Elliot Cadeau, Roddy Gale Jr., Namari Burnett, Yakal Lindborg, and Will Cheddar. Will Cheddar played the 5. Michigan was really undersized against a very, very tall, very lengthy, very active defensively Cincinnati team that did come into the country number 5 or come into the season number 5 in the country in adjusted defensive efficiency in KenPom's preseason rating. So it's very predictive, obviously, at this point. But Wes Miller, Cincinnati's head coach, has had really good defensive teams since he's been there. And let me tell you, they were pretty incredible on the defensive end, especially in the first half, or maybe only in the first half. Michigan had a long stretch there from the middle of the first half to late in the half where they barely scored. I think it was a 24-4 run for Cincinnati. Michigan turned it over all over the place with 14 turnovers in the first half. They finished with 20 for the game, so only 6 in the second half. They cleaned those up. That was a big issue, and a lot of it was just kind of laziness up top. Maybe a guy wasn't looking on a pass where they're trying to initiate the offense, that sort of thing. And Dusty was asked about it after the game, and he said, I've been very transparent and very clear. We have not turned it over a lot in practice, so he didn't seem worried. He didn't really want to get into it. I don't think he wanted to start the whole line of questioning. Like, turnovers dominated the press conferences a year ago, and that was a real issue. That was warranted. I think it's, this was an outlier, according to him. And to his point, and I give him credit for having even that response, this is an extension of practice. This is an exhibition game. This would have been a secret scrimmage in years past where they couldn't even talk about it, right? What happened, what didn't. And then you'd hear rumblings that it was 100-100 and both teams looked like Final Four contenders and everyone hit their shots, but they were good on defense, even though they both scored 100. And, so we got to see it. And sometimes when you see, something that's sometimes behind closed doors, you want to draw a bunch of conclusions from it, and we have to stop ourselves. We're not going to draw a bunch of conclusions. We're going to tell you what happened, and a lot of you saw the game as well and have your own thoughts on it, and this is just my take, and I'm sure there are some things I missed, but there's a difference between what happened and what it means going forward. Probably doesn't mean a lot going forward. Also worth mentioning with this game, a bunch of fouls. 27 personal fouls for Michigan. 33 personal fouls for Cincinnati. A combined Michigan shoots 48 free throws, and Cincinnati with 35 free throws. They go 22 of 35. Michigan was 41 of 48, 23 of 26 in the second half. So a really good effort from the line there. But there was a lot of effort from the line. There was a lot of whistles, walking down to the other end, shooting free throws. It was a choppy game that took, I think, about 2.5 hours at Chrysler. People were getting a little bit restless. G.J. Karstensen, one of our favorites. I say that. You can take that however you want. too. He was in charge of that crew, and it was a really choppy game. Defensively, it was very tough for Michigan to get stops. Cincinnati is a good team with a lot of talent. They reloaded big time through the transfer portal this offseason, and you could see a lot of that talent on display. At the same time, they hit a bunch of tough threes. They hit 12 threes in this game. I can think of 7 or 8 of them off the bounce. 2 of them, and they were tough contested ones, most of those. 2 of them banked in, and Michigan's bank, 3-point shot defense needs to improve again. Just kidding. But last year there were a ton of them, and we saw 2 of them here tonight. So that's how Cincinnati was able to score those. They also scored a bunch in the paint, 40 points there out of their 100 come in the paint. And, of course, another 22 from the free throw line. And Michigan just had no rim presence. They had no rim protection. When you're without a Daimara, when you're without Merez Johnson, that's going to happen. Yakal Lindborg played the 4. Will Cheddar and Oscar Goodman played the 5. So Michigan was very undersized at the 5 position. Of course, Wolverines switch a lot on defense anyway, so a lot of it just depends on how the action goes, how things flow, and who's matched up with who at the end of the possession. And a lot of times, Michigan was just undersized down low. It's not going to be that much. They switched everything quite a bit. They're going to switch 1 through 4 most of the time this season with kind of an anchor and drop coverage, Merez Johnson or a Daimara. They just didn't have that luxury tonight. And again, those guys should be back soon and maybe next Saturday for the exhibition game at Madison Square Garden against St. John's. So Cincinnati was able to hit some tough shots from the outside. They were able to score in close as well. Michigan on the other end, like we said, they had that long stretch in the first half where they struggled to score, and then they lit it up in the second half. So they scored 34 in the first 20 minutes of the game and 64 in the second half. And it wasn't just free throws, although 23 of those points were free throws. But let's start talking about some of the player standouts from this game, because Yakal Lindborg was absolutely incredible in the second half. He flipped a switch in the first half. He actually said he saw his trainer from UAB, AJ, and I believe that's Aaron Johnson, who has a connection, played for Dusty May when Dusty was an assistant at UAB. He was in the stands, and he asked him for advice as he was coming off the floor going into the locker room at halftime. And Aaron Johnson told him, "You're being soft. You got to be more aggressive. You should be dominating these dudes." And dominating these dudes is exactly what Yakal Lindborg did. We'll go to the second half stats here. 26 points, 8 of 10 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3-point range, 9 of 9 from the free throw line, 7 rebounds, committed 3 fouls, committed 2 turnovers as well. But he was dominant. He was everywhere. There was a missed 3-point shot where Yakal, I think, had the feed from the top of the key, and you're kind of watching the shot. It goes off. Next thing you know, he's under the rim getting the rebound for a putback. Like, he was quick to the ball. His hands were constantly on the ball. There were multiple times when Cincinnati's trying to inbound the basketball, Yakal Lindborg is guarding the inbounder, and he just keeps tipping it away, and they struggled to get it in. Even when they did get it in, he affected the pass so much on one of them that Roddy Gale was able to get a steal because it wasn't a clean pass and clean catch. So, I mean, man, this dude is fun to watch. I went down to Chicago over the summer back in May for the NBA Combine and saw him in 2 scrimmages, and I think I texted multiple people while I was there, and I think I wrote it in our recap as well. Yakal Lindborg is fun to watch play basketball. And that's how I leave this game tonight. He's going to be a lot of fun to watch for Michigan fans. He's smiling out there. He's talking trash. He's running around, giving all-out effort. He made some dumb passes like a lot of Michigan's players did. Roddy Gale also had quite a few turnovers in this game with 8 of them. Didn't realize it had gotten that high. I thought it was more 5 or 6 from the ones I remember. But there were a lot of that sloppiness. There were a lot of dumb fouls from both teams as well. Again, this is an extension of practice, but the flashes we saw from Yakal Lindborg and what it was most of the second half, him taking over the basketball game. It's special stuff against a team like Cincinnati that, yeah, it's early in the year for them. We can't draw too many conclusions about them either. But that's a team that's really good on the defensive end. They got some veteran guards that'll get into you, some young guards with a ton of talent and quickness as well, and then a lot of size on the front line and on the wing. So that's a good team to go against. More player notes. Elliot Cadeau was really impressed with the way He commanded the team offensively, the way he got to his spots and pretty much got wherever he wanted to on the floor. A lot of the times he ends up 14 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 turnovers. One of the weirdest stat lines of all time where you have 14 points and you went 1 of 1 from the field. He went 12 of 15 from the free throw line because he drew so many fouls in this game. But I really like what we saw from Elliot Cadeau. He just gets guys open. And when he's able to get in that transition flow in the early offense, he was finding guys, some no-look passes, beautiful feeds on the wing. A lot of the time, especially in the first half, Michigan wasn't knocking down the shots. He could have had a lot more than 7 assists. Trey McKinney, a lot of people were waiting to see him. Really rough night for Trey McKinney. Finishes with 1 point, went 0 of 7 from the field, 2 rebounds, had a couple turnovers. Early on, he got the ball stolen from him a couple times, and then the guy goes in for a layup. He fouls him. Like, just some rough moments from the true freshman out of Flint. But Dusty May was not worried at all after the game. He said he's been really consistent. It's the first taste of playing time. It's a great experience for him going against those really veteran, tough guards that Cincinnati has on their roster. So it's a learning experience for him. He's going to go from there. And Trey McKinney's going to have a big season, is what Dusty May said. And I'll say Trey McKinney's going to play a lot for Michigan, and I think he's going to play well. Namari Burnett, 7 points, 1 of 6 from 3, couple in and outs. Would like to see a little bit more out of him, but if he makes his shots, we're not even saying that. So just kind of one of those nights. Will Cheddar off the bench really gave a spark. 15 points, 3 of 5 from 3, 6 of 7 from the free throw line, 1 rebound, 3 fouls. One of them was a total BS pushing foul on the baseline. He hit 2 threes in a row at one point, and that's what Will Cheddar is going to have to give you. Here and there, he's going to have to come in and add a spark. I don't know how many minutes Will Cheddar is going to play this season. Is it going to be 10? Is it going to be 12 per game? Is it going to be 15? He's not going to play a lot of center, I wouldn't think, but that's what he had to do tonight. And he added a spark, but at the same time, what I want to get into now is that Michigan really did a lot better in the second half when they went small. Without Will Cheddar or Oscar Goodman out there, you saw some of the lineups with Roddy Gale, Namari Burnett, Elliot Cadeau, Trey McKinney with the Yakal Lindborg as the 5. And then you saw some of those lineups too, but with Winters Grady in the basketball game, the other true freshman that got to see action in the backcourt, and he hit 2 threes. He went 2 of 4 from 3. I think another one went in and out, and he looks like a specialist you could bring in and have him hit some shots. Malik Cordell, the other freshman that played, saw 3 minutes of action. Looks like he's going to be a force physically out there. Just looked big even against Cincinnati's guys. We noticed that when we saw practice a couple weeks ago. Even against Adai Mara, he looks big, and that bodes well for his future. But he's still developing. Probably more of a project. I think he'll see spot minutes. Does he play in double-digit games this year? I'm not sure. Will he affect a win at some point or a pivotal game? Maybe if they get in foul trouble, if they have some injuries. But it was more the smaller lineups here tonight. LJ Kaysen, like we said, kind of on a pitch count, 4 points for him. Had a really nice running layup in there, but also had some poor moments early on in the game. A couple turnovers, came right in, turned it over on an inbound pass. Just stuff that can't happen. He's getting into the groove. I don't know how much he's practiced in the lead up to this game. He's been kind of banged up, battling, I believe, an ankle injury. It was an ankle a few weeks ago, and then he re-aggravated something or got dinged up again. So LJ Kaysen, there's still more to see there with him. Roddy Gale, we mentioned the turnovers, but also made some really big plays in this game. 18 points, 4 of 6 from the field, 1 of 3 from three-point range, 9 of 11 from the free throw line, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. The 8 turnovers stand out, right? And if he's going to play some point guard for you, like they want him to this year at times, he's going to have to clean that up. And, we saw turnovers being an issue for him last season as well. But at the same time, he's a catalyst at different points in the game. And sometimes you need somebody that's going to come in and make stuff happen. Now, he started tonight, and he'll probably be a starter this season. But, you take some of the good with the bad with him, but there just were too many mistakes, I think, tonight. The highlight of the game, and we'll add more superlatives as we go through the season and we get more of a structure as the games are a little more normal and they don't have a million fouls and it's not an exhibition and you're not missing your 2 best big men at the 5 position. But the highlight of the game that we want to bring you and not bring you, but talk about is lob feed from Elliot Cadeau to Yakal Lindborg on the baseline. Elliot Cadeau breaks down his guy, little hezzy, gets in to the teeth of the defense, Yaxel's in the left corner. He comes screaming off that left corner into right to the tin. Elliott with a perfect pass and kind of a little C-web type of action. Grab, but not just grab and dunk, like grab it, raise the ball up, slam it down. Chrysler was into that. Chrysler was into a lot, especially in the second half. That was a great crowd for an exhibition. So if you were there, comment, what'd you see? If you're watching on BTN Plus, give us a comment here on YouTube. If you're watching there, give us your assessment of what you saw. Like the video if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. We have much more over at thewolverine.com. I'm sure there's stuff I missed that is going to be written about by either Anthony Broom, Chris Ballas, or myself in our post-game coverage over at thewolverine.com. You can get a deal right now. If you want to get behind the paywall, read our 5 takeaways from the game, read all of our content on football, basketball, recruiting, NIL, transfer portal. Use the promo code UM1 right now for 2 months of access for just $1. That's UM1 over at thewolverine.com.